Hey Saurabh.
Hey Raj, how's it going?
Hi, it's going great. Just quickly checking the audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you as well. Cool.
Okay.
Just start in a
Awesome.
couple of minutes. Just waiting for
Yeah,
our bonus as well.
yeah. Sounds great. How's it been so far?
It's been amazing, Saurabh. How about you? How are things? You're in Delhi right now?
Yeah, I'm in Delhi.
Awesome. That's great.
But good, yeah. This is like the first India-Israel kind of a summit,
Yeah,
right?
this is the first time we are doing it, and hopefully for many more
Many
times to
more.
come.
Yeah.
Hi, Ohad. Good morning for you.
Hi,
How are you
how are
doing?
you? Very good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. We also have Saurabh
Hi,
with us.
Ohad.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
So, guys, we are on time. Thank you so much for making the time to join us for the first India-Israel Deep Tech Summit. We also have a live audience with us. So all those who are joining us, thank you so much for taking out the time to hear us out. So we can start with a quick round of introductions. So my name is Raj Madiwale. I work with Onivation as the cloud cost optimization and marketing technology lead. We also have Ohad with us, who works with Namagu. And of course, I'll let Ohad introduce himself. But Namagu is a very fantastic organization that has been working on personalizing customer journeys for e-commerce and D2c websites. The revolutionary machine learning engine allows e-commerce organizations to personalize promotions based on a shopper's intent. And Namagu has been doing extremely well in the Indian, European, and American geographies. And we are really looking forward to hear more from them. Over to you, Ohad, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you described it better than me. So thank you for that. Yes, Namogu is a 200 employee company now, working, started actually from Europe, then expanded to the US, and now actually expanding to India. And we're very excited with this move. Working with the Fortune 500 companies, companies like H&M and HP and Lowe's and JCPenney and Dollar Shave Club, as I'll describe very soon. And also with both, and now with many Indian companies as well. Technology based on machine learning. We have several products in our platform with that goal, similar to what you mentioned. Very excited to be here today.
Thank you so much, Ohad, and we are excited to have you. We also have Saurabh Bhandari with us, who is the Vice President of D2C and New Initiatives at Boat. Now, we have a lot of Indian, viewers for this, and I don't think anyone requires an introduction for Boat. It's probably one of the most sought after brands in India right now. In fact, when I was going through Saurabh's profile, I was actually really impressed with the kind of assignments that he's done in the past with all the sales and marketing leadership roles. Saurabh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, guys, my name is Saurav. I'm part of the Imagine Marketing India Limited organization. Boat is one of our flagship brands, and I look after new initiatives, which is essentially growth opportunities, as well as our direct-to-consumer channel through our website and our app.
Great.
Really happy to be here with you all.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. So for our viewers, I would just like to probably lay down the structure of our 1 hour long session over here today. We are going to have a masterclass by Ohad on how artificial intelligence is being used and leveraged by e-commerce websites and D2C organizations to drive smarter promotions. Followed by that, we would have a fireside chat with me, Ohad, and Saurabh, just to discuss some really interesting insights in the e-commerce and D2C industry. So over to you, Ohad, and again, thank you so much for this presentation. Ohad, you are on mute.
Sorry for that. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you see it.
Yes, Ohad, we can see your screen.
Yes. Can you see it full screen?
Yes.
Okay. What we're going to talk about is where the promotion space goes these days, from what we see in the market, things that Namogu is personally involved in. But more important than that, we would like to start with providing an overview of the D2C area and what is the connection to the promotion world, as we see a great connection there. So, and by the way, after that, we will have questions and some kind of a discussion. So we'll start with the global D2C landscape. What is the D2C area? D2C is the whole area of direct to consumer, right? So we see today more and more brands starting to build relationship with the consumer, directly with the consumer. And the reason for that obviously started around 10 years ago with amazing examples, as one that I'm going to talk about, Dollar Shave Club, which is one of our customers. And for me, it is a great role model to look after. What they did there is amazing in terms of D2C. But over the past 2 years, we've seen amazing proliferation in D2C companies. And we see two main reasons for that, for the D2C growth. One, it started with brand moving to online, right? So during the COVID, we've seen in 2020, 15,000 stores closed in the US by big brands. So stores are starting to close. By the way, in 2021, around 10,000 stores closed again. So over 2 years, 25,000 stores are closed. The connection with the consumer is hurt, is damaged. So stores are closing, the connection is damaged, and brands are looking for ways to interact with consumers because the buying patterns are changing. So people, instead of going to stores and being exposed to products and the brands on the street, they stay home and they browse the internet, right? And they are looking for products and they go on Google and they look for things. So brands are looking for ways to attract them on the online. So if in the past you would go to a retail store and then you would be exposed to products, now you stay home. So brands are looking for ways to build direct connections to the consumer. That's on one hand. So the damage in closing the stores and the change in behavior of customers. On the other hand, what you see on the right-hand side, we've seen, the past few years that it's getting easier and easier to build a business online. So on one hand, it's easy, right? E-commerce platforms like Shopify, like Magento, like WooCommerce, like BigCommerce, like others, they make it very, very easy to launch a store. When we started our journey with the e-commerce platforms, I tried it myself, and in around 10 minutes, I was able to build a Shopify store. It's very, very easy. So when in the previous days, brands would need to build an operation, to build a store, in the street and to buy real estate and et cetera. Now it becomes very easy. You pay $10 a month and you launch your store. You upload images of products and voila, you have it there. So it becomes very easy, very handy. We've seen in the past few years a great proliferation in stores being built on Shopify alone. So over 1 million micro brands in Shopify. And obviously, as we all know, during COVID, this trend proliferated and grew aggressively. And we've seen alternative models are increasing. Drop shipping industry is expected to reach a huge market valuation by 2025. So we see the change in behavior on one hand, and we see how easy it is to build a brand on the other hand. So it seems very, very easy, like paradise, right? Very easy. But it's not that easy. Because many brands are going online, many brands are building their Shopify store or WooCommerce or Magento store, and it gets way more competitive. And for me, when I look at the D2C market, the company that jumps into my mind, and I think both is doing an amazing job in India. If we look at the US market, I would take as a role model for me a company called Dollar Shave Club. If you haven't read their story, I strongly recommend to do it. It's an amazing company that in the course of a few years took a very meaningful portion of the shaving industry, which was dominated for many years by Gillette. And after that, they have been acquired by Unilever for $1 billion. What was smart about what they did, they learned the industry very well, and they learned the behavior of users, of how they buy, how they go to Rite Aid and this kind of CVS, and they buy shaving equipment, products. And then they decided to launch a D2C company, very strong, that sells directly to consumers. And they did it with all the things that the internet has to offer. By the way, the CEO and the founder is a comedian, so they built very strong, funny, as you can see here, viral videos. So they many YouTube videos, viral videos, strong. They relied on Facebook and social networks as well. And what they built an e-commerce, D2C e-commerce company. But the most interesting part there, they kind of invented the subscription model. So they're one of the first companies in the world to come with a D2C subscription-based company that you subscribe to some kind of a package, and then you get every month everything to your house, to your home. And by that, they bypassed all the CVS and all the Rite Aid and all these retail or pharmacies companies where you used to buy the shaving products there. So this is an amazing company that in a small number of years managed to do a very strong disruption in the D2C market in the US. The barrier to success has never been higher. So we see every day the average consumer is exposed to between 4,000 to 10,000 ads. We don't notice, but we see so many ads on the social, on TV, in the radio, everywhere, and we are bombarded with ads. So all the companies are trying to compete on the attention of the end user, and it becomes very hard to stand out in the market. We see a strong usage of coupons and price comparison extensions. So we see all the big companies. Rakuten has acquired Ebates, and Amazon Assistant launched extension. Honey was acquired by PayPal for $4 billion a few years ago. Capital One, which is a bank, acquired Wikibuy, which is an extension. Klarna just bought Piggy, and many companies are now looking for ways to build connection, build relationship with the consumer, either through a brand or through an extension in the browser that builds this connection, which increases the level of noise that we have out there. And on top of that, we have stronger limitations, especially in Europe and also in the US, in privacy. So it becomes harder and harder to understand what the user wants and to track and to provide the user what he needs for that. Consumer behavior is changing. This is, by the way, based on a report that was done by Namogo and Astound Commerce in 2021. We see a consumer more sensitive to pricing. because the internet has so much to offer, so they become more sensitive to price. They can be very easily distracted, as we showed in the extensions, by competing promotions. They're less brand loyal, right? You used to go to your store and you used to have a relationship with your store. Now everything is online. You go to Google and you can go anywhere you want. There's so many possibilities out there. And we see higher cart abandonment rate than before. When we talk about brands, and this is based on a survey that we've done with Microsoft, we see that in 2022, while in 2021 and 2020, companies were more focused, especially during COVID, on acquisition. They spent so much money on social, on acquiring users, on Google and Facebook, etc. Now we see companies kind of change their mindset and they become more aware to cost. We hear many customers, almost on any call that I'm in, they say, we want to stop spending so much money on social, on Google, on Facebook. We prefer to spend it on loyalty programs and to increase our loyalty with the customers that are loyal to us. We see companies that are more aware for site performance, because there's nothing like first impression on the website. On-site personalization, they want to target users with the relevant things that they want. A strong emphasis on partnership programs and affiliation to bring the right customers to the right places. And also as part of the loyalty, even an SMS marketing, so users that come and get the best experience, we want to bring them back for additional sessions. So these are the main trends that we see in the market. And aligned with that, what I wanted to draw your attention is what you see on the left-hand side. While it used to be in previous years mostly conversion and drive, more sales, now we see companies more, they give more attention to AOV, more to cost, to keep the sales higher and not spend so much money on transactions. Going to the Indian market, we've seen explosion in D2C brands. We see over 100 D2C brand startups in India, very growing. The e-commerce market is planned to reach the $200 billion plus by 2026. The D2C market in India is planned to reach the over $100 billion by 2025. The number of online shoppers is growing. Everything is exploding, and it becomes more and more competitive. And of course, on the right-hand side, you can see the split between the different industries, but the leading ones is planned to be fashion and consumer electronics, but also CPG and home decor and these areas. Okay, so this was like an overview of the D2C market and the challenges there. I would like to spend a few minutes on what Namogu does in terms of D2C companies we work with, and also retail and e-commerce companies that we work with. And the focus that I would like to give in this presentation is the online promotions and where it goes. So as an introduction to that, what we see here is if you go to a store, we go to a mall, you go offline, or you drive in a highway, this is how brands usually promote themselves, right? They put 20% off for everyone because of the limitation of the physical world. The irony that we see here, again, if we take Amazon and the most advanced companies, and also both now companies aside, the irony is that if you go online to almost any website and try that, go to a Gap and go to Macy's and go to all the biggest brands in the US, you would see the same promotion for everyone. So you and I would get the same 20% off for everyone. And it doesn't make any sense. What we discussed with our brands that we work with in 2022, where we have so much data and the technology is so much advanced, to give everyone the same exact offer, it doesn't make any sense anymore. And here we say, imagine a world where Amazon, Netflix, and Booking offer the same thing for all of us, right? Imagine you and I would go to Amazon and see the same thing, or you and I would go to Netflix and see the same offers for movies, or you and I would go and see the same rate for a room on booking.com, right? It doesn't make any sense because these companies understood a few years ago that we can take the advantage of the technology and bring something much more powerful. And that's the idea. And by providing the same offer to everyone, you actually lose twice. By the way, the same promotion, meaning the same promotion at the same time, right? Usually on the homepage, you get to the homepage, you get 20% discount. And by doing that, you lose twice. On the bottom here, you spend more in many cases where you shouldn't, right? So maybe Raj does not need 20% off. Maybe he would still buy with 5% off, or maybe with no promotion at all. On the other hand, if I provide Sarab 20%, I might be losing him because Sarab might need 25% or 30% or 40% in order to buy. So I'm losing money on one hand and I'm losing customers on the other hand. And the world is now going to a personalization, but also on the promotion, on the promotion area. So what you essentially would want to do is to give everyone something different, right? A different promotion. Someone might get something on the homepage and someone might get it on checkout, and someone might not get it at all, and someone might get it on the order confirmation page. Someone might get gift offer and someone might get 1+1. Someone might get 15% discount and someone might get 40% discount. And by doing that, if you do that right, you're able to earn on the two areas, to retain the lost profit and to generate more sales that you're currently losing. That's the idea. And the key here, what you would like to do, because there are so many variations and the combinations there is so high, you would like to do it like the autonomous car would do to us when we drive towards a destination a few years from now, right? You would click on an address and then the car would take you there. You want everything to be totally autonomous and automatic. So you just want to define your goal, to put all your dreams on the canvas, and then the car would take you to your destination, or in this case, the promotions would work in parallel, in tandem, together with each other to reach the final destination. This is taken from Gartner, that what you see at the top of the pyramid here, from their report, is that personalization should, at the end of the day, focus on the intent of the customer. That's the most important thing. And if you do that, you are able to, of course, solve the issues with your retaining customers, but more importantly, if everything is automatic, you're able to solve the first-time visitor challenge that we talk with many customers now, how to solve this challenge, because these are customers that, on one hand, will come and might never not come back, right? They're just came for the first time and might not come back anymore. So you have only like 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds to make your impression on them, to catch them, and to bring them what they need so they don't leave to your competition. I think I will skip that. If I can spend a few more minutes on the technology, on how Namogu does it. So the challenge here is to provide the right promotion at the right time. So essentially, the engine that works in real time that we built asks at any given moment two questions. One you see on the left-hand side and one you see on the right-hand side. The first one is when to show. I can show it on the homepage, I can show it on the product page, I can show it on the category page, on the checkout, on the cart, on the order confirmation. So the first question is when. The second question is what to show. So I can show one promotion or another, or show nothing at all. And the way that it works, the prediction engine predicts actually two things. One, when will the user abandon, as you see on the left-hand side. Based on that, we decide when to show. So if the engine assumes that the user is going to abandon in 5 pages from now, I might prefer to wait a page or two in order to make a smarter decision on the next page. But if I suspect that the user will leave in the next few minutes or next page or two, I might pop up the next question now, and the next question would be what I want to show. And here we predict what is the probability of the user to buy. If the engine assumes or predicts that the probability to buy is very, very high, the policy that we take is that we would provide a very low discount, if at all. But if the engine assumes in real time that the user has a very low probability to buy, we would give, or the prediction engine would give, a very aggressive discount in order to make the user cross the barrier and buy. So these are the two questions that the engine asks on an ongoing basis throughout the session. By the way, we are deployed, Namogu is deployed today on over 1 billion unique monthly users on all the brands that we discussed, so that we mentioned. So we take advantage of all the buying patterns on the web, and you would be surprised how consumers behave the same, and how signals that we see on one website can imply on signals that we see on another website. And of course, it varies between industries, but consumer behavior is consumer behavior. The data that we rely on, and again, I'm talking very, very shallow here, but I would be happy to continue the discussion either here or offline. But we take advantage of signals that can be inferred right away as the user lands on the site. So of course, we rely also on behavior and things that we can collect throughout the session. But more importantly, what you see on the right-hand side here, on the top right, things that, signals that we can calculate right away, like the device type and the device strength. We have a patented technology that can calculate the device strength, the CPU availability, which is a very strong predictor for buying, what is installed there on the device, things in the environment of the user, and etc. So many features on this slide are being sent on an ongoing basis to the engine. And then the engine builds in real time, it builds in offline a tree, like a decision. Actually, it's a forest of trees that essentially it's a forest of decision trees that in real time we ask all these questions and on all the features that belong to the user. And based on that, we calculate the intent of the user, and based on the intent, we provide the discount. So this is essentially how it works. And the policy, as we mentioned, is we want to give the highest discounts to the users with the highest probability to buy. In other words, the highest purchase propensity and the highest potential to abandon, right? Because these are the users that have the ability to buy, but we don't want to lose them. And we have a high chance to lose them. So there we want to give the aggressive discounts. And of course, the challenge here is to do everything in real time. Here we have a few examples, but I think we don't have a lot of time, unless Raj, you give me more time. But for users that have higher potential to buy, but the session length is 2x longer than regular sessions. So in other words, we suspect that there might be a problem here, and the user is hesitating more than the usual, and then the discount will be relatively high. And on the other hand, users that we see that the chance that they would buy is very, very high. So they came from Instagram, they came to a product that is very popular with the users that coming from Instagram. They bought 2 times in the past, etc., etc. So we might want not to give any offer because they might buy anyway. And of course, this is a prediction, but that's how it works. By that, and I think that's maybe my last slide, we provide brands the ability to be either not either conservative or bold, as we see. So companies are very hesitant in many cases, especially D2C companies that are starting to build, or even mature companies like JCPenney and Lowe's and H&M that are hesitant to provide promotions because they are afraid. So they'd rather be conservative, but then they lose many customers. So such an engine provides companies the way to be both conservative and bold on the other hand. So I think that's it from now. And we're very excited with the relationship with Boat. We see Boat as a pioneer, as Raj mentioned, in India, doing amazing job, and we're privileged to be working with them. And yeah, and I think that's my last slide. So I encourage companies that are interested in exploring more to reach out to me directly, ohad@namogu.com, and would love to continue the discussion.
Thank you so much for that, Ohad.
Sure. Sorry for it took longer than expected. So sorry for that.
No, we are actually doing perfect on time.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And it's like really interesting also has how COVID had changed buying patterns in customers, right? Like if I were to introspect, the way I buy things has changed significantly after, COVID has happened and the subsequent lockdowns that have happened. And I mean, it's not a surprise that like now more than 1 million micro brands are on Shopify, and India is the D2C segment in India will hit 200 billion plus in 2026. I mean, like we are in a really, really exciting segment and industry, and really amazing adventures are ahead of us. With that being said, I would like to bring in Saurabh into this conversation. Traditionally, fireside chats are done with hot chocolate and marshmallows, but we are in a virtual format, so we'll have to improvise. But Saurabh, do tell us more about how Boat has embarked on this journey. I mean, this story of Boat has been inspirational for so many D2C brands in India and abroad. Could you give us a little bit of an idea of how Boat started, and where are you looking to head out?
Yeah. So two parts to that question, right? So Imagine Marketing India started off in 2014 with Boat Lifestyle, right? And the idea since day one for us has been to build a lifestyle brand, right? We were a D2C brand in India before the term D2C became popular here. And what we started off was around solving a consumer problem. So we started off with mobile accessories, and the key consumer problem was that charging cables were breaking easily, right? What we managed to do was that we managed to disrupt that market in a fairly short span of time. And since then, we forayed into some of our core products today, essentially audio in consumer electronics and wearables. COVID, as you mentioned, accelerated some of the themes around work from home, work out from home, and a lot of consumption, content consumption at home, as well as a focus on length, on health. So our portfolio was positioned, so to say, in at the right place. For us, the focus has been always to build distinctive products that are tailored to Indian audience. So what I mean by that is our audio portfolio, for instance, is bass heavy because Indian consumers love bass, right? Along with stuff around building durable, dust-proof, sweat-proof brands and products, right? So that's essentially kind of like a short journey from where we were to where we are today.
That's great, Saurabh. And so you mentioned about the whole trends that COVID has brought in. So do you think these trends are here to stick, or do you think people will fall back to retail? Do you think people will still kind of go ahead with D2C and purchasing online? What's your analysis about this?
So I think I think all of this will coexist, right? Retail will not disappear all of a sudden, right? So the name of the game is distribution. So the way I look at it is that even online traffic, online traffic is distribution, retail is distribution. So you have to be present where the consumer is. Now, COVID has in effect accelerated all of these trends. So there is acceleration around people buying more online, people being more comfortable with buying online. So that trend is accelerated and it's here to stay. Similarly, I think what has happened is there more opportunities for D2C brands to sell online as a result of that, right? And what that does is that kind of reduces your entry barriers. Ohad spoke about there are it's a easy place to build a web store and to create a whole back-end engine around logistics, etc. So that helps D2C brands sell much more easily. But I feel like these trends have accelerated, but offline and online will both coexist going forward.
Great, great. Yeah. So, and also sort of with growth, also you get challenges. And I personally believe like challenges are always good, because if you're creating anything of value, you will always have challenges and problems, right? So what would be your top 3 challenges that you face that, you would love to find a solution for?
I think challenges are at the end of the day opportunities, because you're all solving either real consumer problems or real, so those are opportunity areas. So for us at Imagine Marketing, I think the one of the biggest opportunity areas is for us to grow and scale our D2C offering. We in fact started selling meaningfully from our own channel just over a year ago, right? And there is this is one place where we can scale, and there is a long way to go. Second, what we're looking at is diversifying our supply chain, something that we've started by expanding our footprint to India, making in India, as well as diversifying to countries like Vietnam. And I think third is to continue to be consumer centric by diversifying our product range, and getting products that consumer need, and kind of again extending the boat playbook to for us to scale in the new opportunity areas that we enter.
Right. Ohad, also, so to some extent, when we were working with both during the initial days of the sales engagement, to some extent, even you were, aware of their challenges. So, would you like to talk a little bit about, how you saw Namogu adding value at both, and how did the whole engagement come across?
Yes. So I very much agree with what Saurabh was saying. The challenge that many companies are facing today, both D2C companies and also retail companies, both small companies and larger companies like both, is that in many cases they don't know what to do. What policy should they take? Should we be more conservative and protect our brand and be very clean and not provide any promotion and not become promotion heavy? Because I'm afraid to go, it's a slippery, I hear this term many calls, it's a slippery slope. Once I start promotions, I will end up with becoming a promotion heavy company. On the other hand, they understand that consumers want promotions, right? So they need, in many cases, things that would drive them by, but not all of them. So I think that the work that we're not doing with both, and again, we see both as a pioneer, and companies that we talk to, that we say that we work with both, they say, yeah, both is a pioneer. Everyone knows that. And I think what's amazing about them is that they understand that you can be both. You don't need to be either conservative or promotion heavy. You can do both if you do it smartly and you embrace the right technology. And you can do both. And I think what's amazing about them is that they're not afraid to try. We see many companies that are afraid to try and they just are left behind. And I think the pioneers companies like both embrace new technologies, understand that they need to do, as Saurabh said, to do things differently for different clients. They need to address different clients in different ways. And I think there are many technologies, not just Namogu's, but many others that allow synchronization of services and personalization and collection of smart data without violating privacy. And so I think that's the kind of work that we're doing with them. And I think the key here is this partnership and understanding that it's not, one-time thing. You need to, it's an iterative work. And as Saurabh mentioned very nicely, it's things that you need to pursue all the time in order to be excellent. And I think that's the kind of the work that we're doing together.
Right. So trying out new things and experimenting is name of the game and the key to success.
Yes.
Right. So,
Exactly.
so Saurabh, on that note, I mean, not specifically with regard to board, but what would your advice be to other D2C brands when it specifically comes to walking this fine line between, giving out promotions because, you want to bring in customers and, incentivize them to purchase, but at the same time, maintaining your brand position in the market and not being seen as like a, promotion heavy brand. How should D2C brands, balance that out effectively?
Yeah, so I always go back, and whenever we talk internally or with my team, right, it's all about fundamentals. Both for this particular brand, we don't face that pressure because we're neither the most expensive nor the most cheap brand out there, right? The key to be able to scale is to be at the right sweet spot, so that consumers feel that they offer, the brand offers bang for the buck, and that's what Boat does. So I think the key in the game is to build a sustainable and profitable brand from day one. And I agree with Ohad, right? Discounting and promotions is a race to the bottom. What we've been able to do apart, and I'll come to smart and personalized promotions, but what we've been able to do is to build a brand with a marketing and brand association such as Marvel or a strong influencer and boathead community play, that we are able to command a small premium that consumers are willing to pay. I think that fundamental is super important, because at the end of the day, discounting will drive sales, but that is not a sustainable way. So the key, therefore, really is to be really, really smart and drive personalized promotions tailored to consumer needs. And D2C at the end of the day is a conversion game, right? So you can either invest in performance marketing by getting traffic on the site, or you can build a brand which essentially will solve for the long term and will drive more sustainable business for you. And for consumers that are out there to look for a deal, how do you offer them the right kind of discount or the right appropriate level of pricing? I think so it's a more holistic approach around both brand building and looking at personalization in promotions that we look at here internally.
So
I totally agree. If I can add to that as well, I think what makes D2C companies different than retail companies, and especially good D2C companies, is that they have an identity, right? So if you go to Macy's or to even Walmart, companies like that, I think the identity of D2C brands is much stronger, because we see more these years. We see users of consumers. They're looking for identity. They're looking for a brand to attach to, and what they show, what they buy, what they tell their friends, it tells something about them, about their identity. And I think the importance of not to dilute this identity, as Saurabh mentioned, is way more important for D2C companies than even for retail companies, because you want consumers to come to Boat or to come to the brand, not because of the discount they would get, but because of the identity of Boat, because they love Boat, because they love the brand. But on the other hand, you want to, or it's part of the identity actually, you want to provide them exactly what they need at the right time they need it. So it's part of me as a brand understanding you as a customer and providing you what you need. And this intimate relationship will make you come for the next time and continue investing in this relationship between the brand and the consumer. So that's the key, in my opinion, for a good D2C philosophy.
Yeah.
And also, I think, like as you said rightly, D2C organizations have a much bigger, kind of a margin to play around with the identity, or like basically solidify the identity. And e-commerce platforms like Magento or Shopify or WooCommerce have played a huge role in that. How do you see being able to carve out this identity versus being on a marketplace or an aggregator, right? How should D2C brands balance that out?
So I'll go back to the point that I said, right? So at the end of the day, whether it is a marketplace, whether it is your D2C brand or offline, right? All of these are distribution channels. So one, it is important to be where your consumers are. You can't just build only a D2C brand and forget that their consumers are buying from marketplaces and offline. One, I think the key of the game is how do you ensure consistency in brand experience, whether you are buying from marketplace, D2C, or offline. But what D2C allows you to do is to really build the best experience that the brand has to offer. So it's both a sales channel as well as a consumer or a brand experience store, so to speak, right? So that is how we look at it from our standpoint. Uh, but at the end of the day, essentially, D2C allows you to personalize at scale. It allows you greater flexibility to tailor consumer experience, and allows you to build product and experience over time. That flexibility you may not have at the marketplaces, but I think each of the channels for us are equally important. And what D2C does today is that you are essentially able to scale very quickly. You have infrastructure companies, you have aggregated logistics players, you have customer support. So in the past, you had to essentially staff this with huge amount of resources. But today you can essentially build it very quickly by plug and play solutions.
Right. So you mentioned about the whole, bit of experience. So I have like a small story. So a few years back, I was working in Bangalore, and I had gone to this really massive experience store, and I had loved one particular product. So I picked up the product. I asked someone around that, hey, I would love to buy this product. They said, no, no, you can't buy it over here. You need to buy it online. This is just the experience store. So you just get to experience. So D2C websites have become like today's experience stores, right? So sort of what are the new interesting things that you're doing on the website to let customers have that experience without probably, being present, being there present physically?
So I think so our major focus is how do we reach tier 2, tier 3 cities, and how do we create greater access to our D2C web store and app for our consumers through a lot of investment in tech around MarTech and a lot of personalization. But also, I think what we're looking at is how do we, from a product experience itself, how do we drive greater immersive experience on the website that consumers do kind of get the best in class experience from our web store, and a lot of focus on retention, loyalty as well for consumers that we've already acquired. Yeah.
That's great. So my next question to Ohad is, Ohad, I mean, Namagu has been working, as we spoke about, like in the European market, the American market. So what are some of the key takeaways that you have kind of accumulated over the years that Indian D2C brands can really benefit out of?
Yes, so I think we see successful companies today in the US and in Europe taking real advantage of technology, taking real advantage of data, and more importantly, being able and also looking for technologies that make them able to make decisions in real time. Because as we mentioned, in previous years, you could do your offline analysis and then you could design a market, but everything is so fast today. So you need to make action on the spot, right? You don't have time to wait and to do the analysis. So we've seen the best companies in the market are looking for real-time data, real-time technologies that make them analyze things on the fly and take it into action. on the fly. That's one. And the second area that we see great investment in our companies that we work with is synchronization of tools. So we've seen companies take many vendors, deploy them on the site, but the problem is that these vendors don't really work together. So one vendor provides something, and then they add too many services online, but things are not orchestrated, are not working together. So it's like a band, like a rock band, each player playing something different, but there's no synchronization. They don't play one song. And the trend that we see now is companies are looking for ways to have all the vendors work together in order to reach the same exact goal that like the ones that Saurabh mentioned. I want to provide the best experience. I want all my vendors to work the same together in order to help me reach this goal. So this is also an investment that we see in the market as well.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Also, we have 10 minutes left for our session to end. I think at this point of time we should head for questions from the audience, and we've been getting a lot of questions I can see here on the chat. One question to Ohad, and this is a question that we get asked a lot by our customers. What happens when customers find out that different people are getting different discounts, and how do you solve for that?
Yes. So what we see is that it actually the mysteriousness, everything, we make it mysterious. So actually we find it more engaging. We see customers, and we measure it as well. We see customers coming back to the site to find out what's new and why he got this and I didn't. So it's an effect that we see at the beginning. Which actually leads to more users coming to the site, which actually is a good thing. I think over time, what we see is that it stabilizes, and then it becomes like a booking, like Amazon, right? When you go to Amazon and I go to Amazon and we see different things, I don't ask why Raj got this and I got that. So people get used to the fact that it's not predictable anymore. That it's not expectable. It's not predictable as it used to be, and it leads to excitement and engagement and users coming more and more to the site. Our policy, for example, in our product is that we flash the policy on a daily basis. So whatever promotion you get today, you might not get tomorrow. You might get something else. So it leads to a much more dynamic world, like Netflix, in a sense, right? You get every day to see what Netflix is going to propose to you. So we see that it leads to much more retention. So we see the retention rate going high, and people tell to their friends, and people are coming to the website to see what's going on. The fact that we rely on machine learning and not on rules make it way harder to predict what's going on. So it's not that if I go from Chrome, I would get this, and if I go in the morning, I would get that. So it's very, very dynamic. And we see that it increases all the business metrics significantly.
Right. And also, I mean, my personal take on the whole question is that when you're doing it intent based, it's much more organic, right? As doing it by rules based. And does it not happen in our day-to-day lives as well, right? When you go to a local market or when you go to a bazaar, right? And when you're almost ready to walk out of the shop, the shopkeeper stops you and says, okay, fine, take a 10% off, but don't go somewhere else. And this is something I guess happens every day. So how do you replicate the experience of a shopkeeper on an e-commerce website? Do you think that's a correct way to put it?
Yes, exactly. I think it's exactly maybe funny, but this is exactly the example that I give to brands that we talk to. If you go to a market, to a market in Bangalore, you said the salespeople there are so experienced. They look in your eyes and they look where you look at, and they're so sharp, and they know how to direct you, what language to talk to you, and what products to offer you. This is exactly what we are trying to mimic in the digital world, to understand why people came, what they're looking at, what is the chance that they will buy, how much I want to invest to make them buy. Maybe some people I know that they're not going to buy, so I'm not going to invest anything, and I prefer to protect my brand there. So this is exactly the atmosphere in the market, and the physical market in the store. This is exactly the thing that we're trying to mimic in the digital world, and it can be done because we have the same sensors and the same data, actually even more data there, but to mimic the salesperson in the market is difficult. But that's exactly the metaphor that we're using.
Right. Yeah. The next question is to Saurabh, and the gentleman wants to know when do you think in your journey as a brand or a product you realize automation as well as optimization is required for promotions? So I guess what the person is trying to ask is how would you kind of compare optimization versus automation? So probably I think the person wants to know, do you optimize the customers that are already on the website, or are you trying to acquire? What is a better strategy? Increasing the top of the funnel or making sure that the funnel is more efficient?
I think it's both, right? And I'll fundamentally go back to the basics that I mentioned. If you don't have a brand, then you need to spend a lot of money on around discounting, around getting traffic and all of that. Versus if you're building a sustainable brand, then you need to spend less money around things that essentially end up hampering your P&L. As far as the automation versus optimization question goes, right? Again, automation is essentially about whether you can move things from a lot of people doing something very complex, which takes a lot of time, to something which is either a machine learning algorithm based or something that can be done faster, so that your core team essentially focuses on solving for problems of the future or solving for bigger, better problems. So that's the framework which we look at from an automation standpoint. So within our growth team, for example, not only do we look at what are the experiments that we want to do each month, we also look at if there is a process that takes away a lot of bandwidth but doesn't add a lot of value, how do we start automating that, right? Around optimization, again, I think Ohad covered this in his deck as well, but optimization from a D2C standpoint is super critical to ensure that what you're spending, you spend well. You would rather spend that money to invest in technology. You would spend that money in kind of ensuring that your health of the business stays good for the long term rather than solving for sales in the short term. So we always take that view to solve for the long term while while not being really focused on here and now when it comes to sales from D2C.
I totally agree. And if I can add to that, I think if you look at the most successful companies in the world or the best athletes in the world, everything needs to be flawless. Everything needs to be perfect. All the stars need to align in order to make a successful business. And it's not either a conversion or either acquisition or optimization. You need everything to be great in order to be a great company. So I very much agree with the Saurabh.
Yeah, and anything which takes too long for someone or a group of people to be able to, you should automate it so that you give people better problems to solve, right? So
yes.
That is very true. Also, I'm being mindful of the time. We'll take one last question, and I think this is a question that Ohad will absolutely love, because the person wants to know how much time does the AI ML algorithm take to learn?
Take to what? To
for the machine learning algorithm to learn, how much time does it typically take?
Yes. So the good news here is that over time, as we mentioned in the presentation, consumer behavior is consumer behavior. Users with shopping extensions, users with high CPU, users, we see signals that we can use from day zero to predict that user is going to buy. Because again, if I buy in the market in Tel Aviv, or if I go to Bangalore, the same salesperson will understand very well if I'm going to buy or not, because they're sharp, they know. So when we started with Boat or any other company, we come with the best model that has been learned so far by us. As we mentioned, we're deployed on 1 billion users globally, monthly. So we come with the best model. So even our default model is so good that it is able to provide amazing results from day zero. So the short answer is, this was a long answer. The short answer is that it takes nothing, because the bootstrap model that we're using is great. And after that, we start building new models, of course, automatically, that start competing with each other. It's kind of an evolution of models that they get better and better and better over time. So, but from day zero, we start bringing value. So we don't need to learn the specifics of the website because we come with a knowledge that has been aggregated so far from other websites.
Great, that is great. With that, gentlemen, I would really like to thank you, because we are at 2 p.m. IST right now, and at the end of the session. I would really like to thank you for taking out the time to having this really insightful chat with us. And I am sharing my screen with details to reach me. If any person from the audience has a question or wants to reach out to me, please scan the QR code, and that will direct you to my LinkedIn profile, and you can just drop a note to me, and we can connect. Thank you so much, Ohad. Thank you so much, Saurabh. And I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raj, for organizing this. I had a great time, and I'm sure Saurabh as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Raj. It's been a pleasure. Pleasure speaking again, Ohad.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.